All right, we'll get started. Can everyone see my screen and hear me? All right.
Yes, we can.
Head nodding, cool. So, first, my key not working, there we go. So we're gonna, do some of our usual intros and talk a bit about the California Democratic Party before moving on to our presentation about fundraising for clubs. So first, I just want to see if we have any new clubs or presidents or basically anyone here that's new today. If you want to go ahead and raise your hand, I can give you a minute. Paula, I don't know if you want to say anything. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Paula McCormick. I'm the Vice President of the La Jolla Democratic Club and very excited to be here.
Great, thank you. Welcome. Anyone else? Cool. All right. Moving on. Just a reminder, these are the folks on our club development committee. Intro, Rob, Justin, Kira, Anna, Katie, and Johan. So if you are looking for who your rep is, it's there. And we also have, talked about that at prior meetings. But so I don't know if Michelle is on. I don't see her. I know Michelle is planning to join, so if she does, or if Deborah joins, I'll give them a minute to talk about this. But so just a reminder, and Deborah from Region 18 discussed this at our last month's meeting, but the California Democratic Party pre-endorsement conference happens every 2 years when we do endorsements for the regular elections. So we have Tuesday, July 27th is the last day for clubs to add new members to be counted for the pre-endorsement conference. So basically anyone that joins through that day, you can include on your roster that you submit to your regional director. They still haven't set a date yet for when those rosters are going to be due. It'll be sometime in the beginning of August, but we'll keep you up to date, or I'll keep you up to date as I hear from our regional directors. And just a reminder of who those folks are. It's based on assembly district. Obviously, these are just for San Diego County, but if you are in Assembly District 75 and 76 in North County, then you're in Region 18 with Deborah Skernick. If you're in Assembly District 71, you're in Region 19 with Ellen. And if you're in Region 20, which is most of the county, Assembly Districts 77 through 80, you're in Region 20 with Michelle Krug. And then just a couple reminders. The California Democratic Party Executive Board meeting, which is virtual, is happening again. I think where's the date here? Let me pull this up. So this is the link for that. It's Wednesday, August 25th through Sunday, August 29th. It's virtual. If you're not a CDP Executive Board member or Standing Committee member, you can still register with an observer pass. And I can grab these links here. Let's see, where's the chat? Okay, e-board registration here. And I'll put the observer pass link too, although that's also on that same page. So observer pass. You do have to pay for this, so. And I'm not sure if you can get it waived for an observer pass, but if you can, the info's on that page. So registration is open and it closes August 12th at 5 p.m. So you can get more info about that there. And this is what the registration for the observer pass looks like. Yeah, so then go ahead. The party is also doing a a series on justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, or JEDI for short. One of those has already passed, but it looks like they're monthly. So you can find that online as well. And I'll put the link in the chat for anyone who is interested. If you would like to sign up, and those are all virtual as well. And then I don't think she's on yet, but Michelle Krug wanted me to share this. This is 2019's information for the pre-endorsement process for clubs. So they haven't sent out new information yet, but I just want to touch on a couple things for everyone's awareness. Ehab, did you have a question?
Actually, I was going to ask you about the pre-endorsement meeting, but you're currently talking about it, so you might answer my question.
So basically, for anyone who isn't familiar with the pre-endorsement conference, basically the state party has its own endorsement process for state level and federal candidates. So the local party endorses in, county, city, school board, like those, water board, those level, whereas state assembly, state senate, Congress, and any statewide races, those are done by the California Democratic Party. So basically, I don't think we can skip over that. So representatives from each club that are chartered with a county party are eligible to participate. So basically, you as the club president or other appointed person by your president who is in charge of verifying your membership, you're gonna, just like you do with the county party every year, you're gonna basically do a similar process for the state party. And again, this is every 2 years. It is optional. If you don't want to participate in the pre-endorsement process, you don't have to. And again, just a reminder, ignore these dates. This is not for this year. They haven't sent that out yet, but just gonna talk a bit about the process. So your bylaws have to contain a provision that only members in good standing as of the stated date, which for this year is August 27th, announced by the state chair, are going to be included in the roster. So you're verifying that you're following that. And you have to define the phrase member in good standing. And I'll show an example of that on this page. Your club must confirm that you have certified either by the president, secretary, or treasurer that these folks are members in good standing per your bylaws. And then you must have outlined a process for how you determine who are your delegates for the pre-endorsement conference. So the rules or bylaws shall outline the process by which representatives to the pre-endorsement conference shall be selected, ensuring that only members in good standing participate in the process, or representatives shall be selected at a duly noticed meeting of the club, affirmed by vote of those members in good standing and in attendance. So club representatives shall be allocated as follows: 1 representative resident in the Assembly District and duly registered as a member of the Democratic Party of California, for each full 20 members in good standing registered to vote in Assembly District. So basically, they're allotted by Assembly Districts. So Assembly District, 71, 78, etc. For each 20 people you have in an Assembly District, you get 1 representative or delegate to the pre-endorsement conference for your club. If you have 19 in Assembly District 75 and 20 in Assembly District 77, you only get 1 in 77. There's not a fraction. So, really try to make sure if you're close to the threshold, you find someone else. to join. If you hold memberships in multiple clubs, you can only be counted for representation once. So that's why it's important to, verify if someone is, choosing yours as your primary club, or home club, as some folks call it. So here's an example. And probably most of you have this already, but just so you can double check and make sure you're in alignment. Here's an example of how to describe membership. So all members of the club shall be registered Democrats. If under age 18 or otherwise ineligible, they shall declare their intention of registering as a Democrat. A member shall be considered in good standing if their dues are current or have been waived due to economic hardship, their voting rights being subject to compliance with other provisions of these bylaws. That's a pretty basic thing, and I think probably most of you have that already, but again, just a reminder. And then here's an example of bylaws that describe the nomination and election process. Again, I believe you should all already have this, but just in case, selection of representatives to the CDP pre-endorsing conferences. Club representatives shall be allocated as follows. One representative resident in the Assembly District and duly registered as a member of the Democratic Party of California for each full, not a fraction thereof, 20 members in good standing, registered to vote in an Assembly District, et cetera, et cetera. And then, so only members in good standing who are registered as Democrats as of the deadline shall be included on the roster. Member of good standing shall mean a member whose dues are current or have been waived due to economic hardship. So basically you can see it's just outlining what was described above. And then at the end, it says said representative shall be selected by a majority vote of a committee comprised of these folks. So in this example, this club chose to select it by a committee. You can also do it by a vote of your club or other process as long as it's outlined in your bylaws. Wayne, you have a question? You need to unmute. You're not, you're still muted, Wayne. I sent you a request if you're having trouble.
I'm sorry. Thanks,
No
Cody.
worries.
Being new, I'm not familiar with this process. You went over it pretty quickly. Where do I go or who do I contact to get a little more detail?
They haven't sent out anything new. So again, we'll be on the lookout. This is from 2019. So I don't want to send this out and confuse people. The CDP will be sending this out to the regional directors. So once we get that information from them, we can go over that, or I can send that out. I think that'll be before our next council clubs meeting. But again, I want to reiterate, I'm fairly certain that almost, if not every club has this in their bylaws. It's pretty standard, so I don't want anyone to worry. You can verify, with, your other board members, and take a look at that. But probably most of you have this already. Ehab?
Thanks, Cody. In addition to the process that you described for the club delegates to be involved, are there additional delegates that get to vote on endorsement? Like, for example, e-board members or just DSCC delegates?
Yes, so I was only talking about clubs since this is the council of clubs, but all the other delegates participate in this process.
Okay, and is there an additional observer group or just regular Democrats who want to be there, not as voters, but as observers and endorsement?
There's not typically a registration process for this. I think they're open to the public. Usually they're in person and anyone can just walk up and be there. I mean, it's not like an official thing where you have to register for an observer pass, at least in my past experience. So if it's going to be via Zoom, I would assume it's, again, still open for people to register. It's not something that people pay to attend either. So I hope that
Mhm.
answers your question.
Will it coincide with one of the regularly scheduled CDP meetings? Like, for example,
No, no, it won't. It'll be separate.
Okay.
And I
Got it.
don't have dates for that yet. So
Okay, thank you.
again, I'll let you all know as soon as I hear more. These dates have changed pretty dramatically over the last few years as the election dates have changed. But I believe it's going to be like in the winter, if I recall discussions, because they're still waiting for the redistricting process. So, but that's my understanding, and we will see if we get more information. But I will just note the reason it's called pre-endorsing is because it's a multi-step process for the endorsement. And this is off of my recollection from last cycle, but the pre-endorsement conference, which is regional, includes clubs. And I believe if you reach over 70%, it's pretty much done. There's a process to appeal that if needed. And then if someone doesn't get over 70%, then it goes to an endorsing caucus with the state party that does not include club delegates. So that's just something to keep in mind. And again, I'll let everyone know if I get any additional, or when I get any additional information about the process for this year. And I believe they'll send out another document like this. They've done that in the past. We just don't have it yet from the state party. So, okay. Are there any other questions about the state party? I don't think I saw Michelle join, so I'll just, okay. We will move forward then. I'm gonna reshare my screen here. I'm gonna go through just, if someone is saying things in the chat, like I can't see that while I'm presenting. So if someone has a question, if you could raise your hand, that would be really helpful. I'm gonna go into a quick presentation slideshow for fundraising, and we'll also introduce our panelists. Steve, yeah, I see your hand raised.
Cody, hi, thanks. Real quick before you get started, will you be mentioning anything at the end, I hope, maybe on the recall from the state party, any info?
I am not connected directly with the state party, so I don't really have any special information about that. If one of our regional directors joins, they can touch on that. Will Rodriguez-Pendy, who's going to join in a bit, can probably answer some questions about that as well.
Great, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead into this now. So just a few examples of fundraising activities that clubs participate in. A lot of clubs have annual events that they do to fundraise for their clubs. That includes dinners, brunches, barbecues, picnics, and a lot of times these are coupled with giving out awards to their club members, sometimes to community leaders or elected officials for the work they're doing in their area. Auctions. I know typically the county party does auctions at the annual Roosevelt dinner. I know they haven't been able to do that with the virtual ones yet, but that's also something that a lot of organizations do to fundraise as well. A lot of clubs have what are called sponsorship tiers, member tiers, or sometimes a president's circle, where they give special recognition to folks who donate at a higher level or pay a higher level of dues. Often that is shown on the website in their email newsletters and things like that to just give a little bit of extra recognition to folks. And folks who may want that extra recognition, especially candidates or campaigns, may opt to participate in that as well. Club t-shirts, merchandise, those sort of things, they're not technically considered being sold like you would at a store. You give them in exchange for a donation. And an annual letter or a thank you sent out to donors can help reactivate that donor by letting them know, hey, these are all the things that we were able to do in the past year thanks to your support, and hopefully encourage them to donate again. If you've ever donated to a campaign or a candidate, you've probably received thank you letters, often asking for more money. So that's a pretty standard thing with fundraising. And just some information and guidelines, very basic ones for planning an event. You really want to be setting fundraising and attendance goals. So is this going to be a very large event, a very small event? Are you trying to raise a certain amount of money? And setting goals and letting people know about your goals can also help encourage people to give more to help you reach that goal. Once you've decided how much you want to raise, talk about a budget for your event. Obviously, you don't want to have a budget that is so large it's going to prevent you from earning money for your event. And you'll also need to secure a date and time as well as a location. Those I'd put at the same time because depending on if you have a really necessary date, a location that you desire may not be available or vice versa. So you'll need to consider both of those when you're planning an event. And then you'll want to create promotional materials for your event, a flyer, social media graphics, a sponsorship packet. And again, I'll show some examples of that. And often organizations and campaigns will do what are called host or co-host levels. That can entail responsibility for fundraising, or it can just be kind of a recognition thing and not have any responsibility. So, but that'll give folks a bit more recognition, sometimes on the flyer for having donated a certain amount. And then you'll also want to make sure you have a way to accept donations from folks, some type of payment system, and I'll talk about a few of those. And then you'll want to make sure you promote. Some things that are typically used are Facebook events. You can invite people to online. You can promote it in emails, newsletters, on social media, on your website, and of course by reaching out directly to people, especially if you want to solicit sponsorships from elected officials, candidates, or other organizations or companies. You'll want to reach out directly to them. Oh, thought I had another slide here. Well, let me go back. Maybe I put the slide somewhere else, but I'll just note a few things that you can use for your payment system. A big one for events is Eventbrite, which you can use. They have a lot of different features and they can accept payments directly. You can also use things like ActBlue. I think maybe requires a pack. If you haven't set one of those up, then you'll want to look at a different system. But there are also payment systems like Square, Stripe, PayPal. PayPal is a really good one if you're a small club just getting started. And then here are some examples of fundraising flyers from clubs. You can see on the left, the San Diego Dems for Equality has an annual Freedom Awards, sometimes a dinner, sometimes a brunch. This one is from a few years ago, but you can see it was honoring, 25 years of history, and Christine Kehoe, who's on a big picture in the front, address, invitation noting guests and sponsor levels. You can see there individual, and then up to, you know, silver, gold, platinum, etc. Obviously, if you're a smaller club, you'll probably have smaller levels for, you know, your first type of fundraising events. On the right, we have one from San Diego Young Democrats, Get Out the Vote fundraiser in 2018 with special guests, Tony Atkins and Todd Gloria. And again, you can see there are some sponsorship levels which are a bit smaller than the ones for the Dems for Equality, and just the basic information about how to get involved with that. And then here we have some examples of sponsorship packets. These are from the California Young Democrats and the San Diego County Young Dems, basically just outlining what folks who do sponsor the organization or the event can get out of it. You can see that there are different levels, again, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and that is a pretty standard thing that organizations use to solicit sponsorships. Usually people that are going, or companies or organizations that are going to sponsor, want to see what they can do with it. Are they going to be able to send promotional materials to promote, you know, their campaign or their organization and show that they're supporting you and your club? And again, make sure you have all the information you need to get those donations, where to send checks, how to donate online, etc. And we have here some examples of President's Circle with the Democrats for Equality. You can see it's a very extensive list of folks who want to make sure that people know they are supportive of the Dems for Equality. On the right here, you can see an example of a letter that the San Diego County Young Dems sent out to donors, just explaining these are the things that we did this year, and what your generous support allowed us to accomplish. And again, that can be coupled with an ask for more money, or it could not. You could follow up maybe a month later or something to ask. But this just helps give people more reason to continue to support you. Okay, well, now it shows. Okay, I'll just mention for event tracking, there are companies. So I mentioned Eventbrite. Mobilize is a really big one. If you've ever signed up for something with the California Democratic Party, you've probably used Mobilize. The National Democratic Party also uses it. So that way you can better track people who register and attend your events. Again, Facebook events is a very widely used thing as well, and probably most of us are on Facebook. And then again, payment systems, just some of those examples that I mentioned. What's going on here? There we go. Okay, so, and then now I'm going to call up our panelists that are going to talk a bit, introduce themselves, talk a bit about, you know, their experience, and answer some questions. So we have Will Rodriguez Kennedy, who's obviously chair of our party and former president of California Young Democrats. He also has experience with fundraising for clubs as president of the Dems for Equality. We have Stephen Shepard, who is finance director for the San Diego County Young Democrats and former president of the UCSD College Democrats. And we have Gibran, who has some professional experience with fundraising for campaigns. He's also our North Inland Vice Chair for the San Diego County Democratic Party. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and attempt to find them in my gallery here. Okay, I see Will. I'm going to spotlight, and then I'm going to go try to scroll through here and find, oh, there we go. I see Gibran. Okay, add spotlight, and then Stephen. Whoop, I thought I found him. Hold on. Where are you, Stephen? There we go. Okay. Okay, I think I got everyone. and you should all be able to unmute yourselves. I'm going to ask. Will, do you want to go first?
All right, and we're just, how do you want to start this? What's our first question?
Just introduce yourself first, and just
Okay, in terms of finance too?
yeah.
Okay.
And then I can ask a couple questions and we'll see if anyone has a question. So
Sure. Hey, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, but you all should because you're club presidents. My name is Will Rodriguez Kennedy, chair of the San Diego County Democratic Party. I actually have a significant amount of experience in campaign finance, in addition to being chair of the party, president of the California Young Democrats, former president of the California Young Democrats, and former president of the San Diego Democrats for Equality. I also worked in finance as the development manager for GSI, which does both telemarketing fundraising as well as event-based and fundraising consulting for about, oh my God, how long? I was there for 3 years. Cody used to work with me on the telemarketing side. Anyways.
Forget that. And I literally I always forget that time of my life. Just like.
Right. It was a rough time. In the telemarketing side, it's sort of rough, but once you get into the management, you have like a bunch of different types of fundraising things. So I fundraised for about 78 clients, including organizations like 20 of the state Democratic parties, Planned Parenthood, ACLU, a bunch of different Senate races. It's like either Senate races or above. So I did state level and national level fundraising. So, you know, I mean, I haven't really like totaled it up, but I've like at GSI, I know I was responsible for like a number of $1 million accounts. So I've raised tens, if not close to $100 million in that period. So in my overall fundraising period. So I'm glad to be here to talk about finance, which is a lot different than what I normally talk to you all about. So I'll pass it on. I guess Gibran Jimenez is next.
Hello, my name is Gibran Jimenez, professionally a campaign fundraiser. Have worked on congressionals, gubernatorial races currently, not in California, in Maryland, as well as at the local level and assisting in a lot of operations when it comes to fundraising. I've been doing this for a little while and I specialize in list building for candidates.
Steven?
And hi, my name is Steven Shepard. Have been fundraising for local clubs for about a decade, but am the hobbyist and amateur on the panel. Yeah, I have mostly smaller organizations, some organizations that even didn't have reporting requirements, which I think a lot of clubs don't necessarily realize they can take advantage of some loopholes around that. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I guess I'll just ask first if you want to talk a little bit about some of the events that you've helped organize and like kind of what that experience and process was like and getting donations for those, if that makes sense. And I know Will, especially with Dems for Equality and CYD, well, and the party. I'll just stop and let you talk.
So in terms of event-based programming, fundraising, and a lot of this, again, is going to be about list building and like maintaining your list and updating it, maintaining relationships, because in the end, donor management is all about relationships. Now, they may not be like very close personal relationships, but it may very well be like, I mean, for example, what Cody said earlier in the slides, where you have an event and you have letters and you have like, you keep people feeling that they're invested in the organization. That is a form of relationship with that organization. So in the vast majority of events, there are sort of two models that I tend to work on. One is like the sort of host committee model. And then the other is like a sponsor model. And so what people often do wrong with events is that they focus on like ticket sales. And then the reality is that ticket sales are secondary to sponsorships. So are there any there's a question from Elise Pipkin-Allen about if there are any Black professional fundraisers. I'm not sure. other than the fact that I'm mixed race, Black Puerto Rican. But anyways, moving on. Those two models are so when you, it depends on how you approach it. Now, if you have like a lot of connections with larger organizations that may be interested in giving to your organization, like labor, for example, you would want to go to the sponsor way. And sometimes they can overlap. But for example, a host committee model is where if you have a number of people who can give at different levels, and you usually like have a host level and like a co-host level and then like a regular ticket level. Events that look like this are usually club level. From CYD, we did a lot of host committee form of sponsorships to like fund our travel to convention. I believe they'll raise between 10 and 14,000 usually. And you basically want to go through your list and go through the connections in the people who are connected with your club and find the people and do the research to figure out what the levels of people are comfortable in giving or could give. And the thing about this is that when you do fundraising, you also have to get used to the like no. You will be told no a lot of times, and that's okay because you ask 10 people for $500 and they say no. If one of them gives, then you have $500, right? So it's been a productive event. In addition to that, you also want to make sure that when you do ask people that you are ready for a backup ask, meaning in normal fundraising, especially in telemarketing, but in like any sort of ask structure, you always have like, you ask them for what you think the max they can give or whatever, like 500, and then you'll back up to like 250 or something like that. So it's important to note that those three, that's how you do like sort of when you're approaching your ask thing. But in terms of models, it's either you create a host committee of like the people in your club or who are close to you who can like give at higher levels, and then as part of, then put them on a host list, and then people will see their friends on that list and they will go and they will be more likely to contribute or attend the event. In addition to that, the sponsor approach is a little bit difficult because these are institutional relationships. So it's easier for like an organization like the party or the larger Democratic clubs to establish. But what the Democratic clubs should be looking at, especially the geographic ones, the affinity clubs are going to be able to get more sponsorships because their mission is more diversity approach is more aligned with diversity, and so unions and stuff and other organizations are very interested to give to like the LGBT community or the Black community or the Latinx community or whatever, because that's like in line with their philosophy. But for geographic clubs, there are benefits for organizations to give to the geographic clubs. For example, unions. So if you're in like a city and there's a municipal union, you might want to try and reach out to them because it's in their interest to be good with the Democratic Party in order to advocate for their candidates, usually Democrats, which is helpful to their members who work for the city. So you would like to, if I were a geographic club with some savvy, I would be looking at the local unions in my region. I would also be looking at like teachers unions and looking at which unions are affiliated with the schools in our region. And those are my thoughts off the top of my head. So those are the two types of fundraising in terms of events that I deal with: host committee and like sponsor level events. And if there are questions later, I can address them, but I'll pass it on.
Wants to go next? Gibran?
Yeah, and I mean, to echo a lot that Will touched on, those are the main models when it comes to building up events. Just one thing when it comes to either host committee or sponsorships, those relationships are going to take a while to foster, but also it's just going to take a while to get those donations in. So, those are some of the first donations and contributions that you want to work on towards your event, is those large scale donors.
And really just to follow up on what they're both talking about with donor relationship building, what I found personally is that I get annoyed when I get a letter from a campaign that's like, thank you, because I'm like, that's money that you should have spent on a piece of lit to persuade somebody, right? But most donors, their headspace isn't like that. It really is important to do that follow-up, to build those relationships, even if it's something that personally you hate to receive. I'm like, I would like to unsubscribe from this. Please just focus on other people. It is really so important to make sure that your donors know you appreciate them, what you're working on, and keeping them engaged throughout the year, not just every time you have an event, hey, can I have more money? But, 4 months after the event, hey, here's what we've been doing, and just making sure that you're keeping that pipeline full and just constantly engaging with people. It's a lot of additional overhead, but it really does pay off in the long term.
I just want to add on to that because that's very true. What I talked about is like sort of the buildup of an individual event. That's just like not even half of the work that you have to do in order to maintain donors. And so, as Stephen said, sending them like an update letter saying this is what we're working on with a soft ask is very productive, and is a common thing to do in order to maintain relationships. Also, thank you letters are essential. As a millennial, like I'm not, I do not write many letters except when I'm in a fundraising capacity. So the party or any organization that I'm fundraising for will usually deliver a stack of hundreds of letters that I have to sign, and I try to do a little bit of a note, like not much. By the way, I've learned some things about thank you letters because it's like sort of a hard task, and like you literally have like cramping hands. There's going to be an urge to like either just sign your name or whatever, which is just boring, but I like to like write a thank you or something like that. Tony Atkins will line out the name and then and then write your name just to show that she like touched the letter, which is really cute, which was really a good way of showing that she cares. I do similar things. I also like usually write a 2 to 3 word message. You never want to write a long message. Otherwise, if you have 100 letters you have to write, your hands will like literally fall off. But thank you letters, update letters, end of year appeals they may seem annoying if you don't have a relationship with an organization, but if a person has given to you, they've invested in that organization and they are therefore interested in the organization's mission and want to be updated. So, and then if it's a smaller list, if you have smaller lists, it is helpful for the chief executive or the leader of the organization to call through that list and just check in on your donors. So the party has a very large donor list, and I spend a good 10 hours a week, unpaid as a volunteer, calling through those lists and just making sure we maintain those relationships. So that's another thing we should talk about at some point, call time. So when we talk about that, I'll be happy to talk about it.
And then I just wanted to chime in on thank you letters also. They are incredibly important. We're going to beat the dead horse on it, but they are incredibly important. Even if your thank you letter has no resolicit in it, right, or no direct ask in it, it is a thank you letter or any kind of form like that, thanking folks after an event or donation always makes a resolicit easier. And it also does keep you in their minds. So they're very important to send out. They seem complicated, but just to speak about what they actually are, it's just a template and something called a mail merge, which just takes an Excel doc and automatically fills it all out. And then there is also some different forms of thank you letters. Some folks like, with folks that have donated, folks or groups that have donated above X amount, having completely handwritten letters. Others just like to send out, just all the same template to everyone and include a little bit of note. And it's just up to your personal preference about which one is easier for you and which one you want to do personally.
Well, I just saw there was a question in the chat about how far out in advance you should promote an event. Let's see, Stephen, do you want to go?
As far as you can. Right?
5 years.
You want people to make sure they have space on their calendar. So think about your personal calendar, how early that fills up, and maybe judge off that a bit. I would say probably at least a month out, you're going to want some kind of, at least like a save the date, this is happening in this part of town kind of thing. And then as the event gets closer, you increase the amount of promotion. So like 2 weeks out, we're maybe going to run some Facebook ads that are going to be more targeted. We'll be calling through our list saying, hey, we wanted to make sure that you saw XYZ. These people, like that time you should have probably had like a host committee or your speakers lined up and the things that are going to draw people in. So yeah, I think, again, earlier, better, as soon as you can get yourself on someone's calendar is good.
Anyone else want to add on to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's good to send them out, a month plus beforehand, but you want to have everything built out before that. Have the majority of your speakers, have your host committee and your sponsors already set before you send that out to the general public or to your general body. But kind of have all of that situated before sending it out.
Will, you're muted.
Yeah. So agreed. I would not do a major fundraising event with anything less than like a quarter of lead time. If it's a smaller, like maybe a host committee type event, you could probably do it with a month's lead time. But you need to have to say a month. Like you need to be ready to market at least a month out. If you're doing major donor fundraising, or if you're asking organizations for money, they're going to need at least 2 months. Because they have to like, first you have to do the ask, then they have to send it to like their boards or something like that, and that may take some time. It will also take time to like go back and forth with them to like get the check and like make sure the logo or whatever you're offering them. We should probably talk about like things that you do offer organizations when you do go to the sponsorship route. But for events in general, I would not advise anything less than a month's notice. For this type of fundraising, and you're going to need more time in order to make it work.
Mm-hmm. I would add one of the benefits of establishing like some type of annual event, because people know to expect and to put it, on the calendars and to attend. Obviously, the date could change a little bit, but if they know it's going to be, maybe during your regular monthly club meeting this month of the year or something like that, or just knowing that it's going to be during this month can help. And I'll also add, if it's something where you're trying to get like an elected official or some other guest speaker that is very busy, the more time you can give them, the better. Especially elected officials are going to have their calendars booked out way in advance. So you want to make sure, even before you start thinking about anything else, if you are really trying to get a specific person, that you get on their calendar as soon as possible. And then, Will, what did you say that you wanted to talk a bit more about?
What was it? Was it lists? Were we talking about? Is it about lists management or call time? Call time. It was call time. So call time is sacred. So one of the things that you're going to want to do, and is the best way to approach this, is to make sure that when you're doing fundraising events, you dedicate a number of hours or time to solely like reaching out to people to solicit them for contributions or to come to your event. Now, call time, the easiest call time is usually when you have an event or something that you're basically selling. But that means, and it's sort of like doing anything that you don't like to do. You have to do it, and you have to do it consistently. Otherwise, it will fall apart. So, for example, I do call time on Wednesdays and Fridays for about, I think I do 4 hours on I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If I'm for the Roosevelt Honors right now, just for this month, I'm doing it three times a week, and I'm doing a number of hours for that. And as a result, right now I'm at 310,000 for the Roosevelt Honors, right? But for like smaller events, you just want to make sure you cut that time in, and that you have some accountability built in, like someone is checking on you to make sure that you do it, because call time sucks and asking for money sucks. But like anything, you have to sort of take your medicine. You have to, just like going to the gym or something. Call time is one of those things that you have to do in order to make a fundraising event work. Now, if you are a larger organization, which I know not many of the clubs are, it does help to have someone like it helps me personally to like do it as a social type thing. So I actually have a team that like will sit with me and like, we'll talk through like the calls, and they'll listen to the calls in order to make sure that that I, when I get a yes, like they're ready to type up an email and send it to them and do follow-up. So call time and then immediate follow-up. So if you get a yes, you must follow up with them immediately to remind them that they contributed, and to give them the link or whatever the details are, so that they can make that contribution. So I know Gibran has a lot of experience with this, so I wonder if he has any more thoughts.
Yeah, and to be blunt, call time sucks. Everyone hates call time. It's you're weird if you like call time. That's the reality of it. But it's hard, but it's necessary, right? It's one of the best ways to get money for a lot of political organizations is to do call time, because the other really helpful ones aren't really achievable at the club levels, which includes emails and digital asks and all that. So for clubs, those direct calls are going to be the most helpful things that you can do. And I know the way Will and I do call time is very structured and kind of what is presented and all this, but it doesn't have to be that crazy at, you know, such a small level. It could just be calling off an Excel list and just kind of being ready to send out an email with a template on it. You know, some of the things that are important to include is obviously your link and all that, but just a little note about the conversation that you've had with someone when you send out the link to them, just so the email seems personalized. But it's really important to have everything in front of you to be able to pull the trigger. But on the back end of things, it's also really important to have good note taking whenever you're doing call time. When it comes to fundraising in general, data is king, right? And it's incredibly important to keep that all in place and to have the best information possible, especially when you're doing call time and you're actually talking to someone. Those notes can make, you know, your next set of calls for either yourself or the next president a lot easier, because you can chime in on, you know, something that was discussed last time or something that the person is very interested in that your club happens to be doing. So, you know, call time sucks, but it's really important, and it's also incredibly important to have good information taking while you're doing it.
I don't know if Stephen wanted to add anything.
Just to make it fun, right? Every call you get a Hershey Kiss, something, right? It doesn't have to be a total drag. Make sure you're keeping whoever's making the calls engaged. They're going to sound happier on the phone if they're smiling and not dead, and that's going to get you better conversion rates because people can hear that. So just even though, yeah, it really is, I don't think anyone's going to tell you it's fun. Do your best to at least try to make it a little bit entertaining for yourself. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's like when we do phone banks for campaigns and like having a bell you ring if you get a yes vote or something. Only difference is you're also asking for money. So
Yeah, and sort of like to tie the themes together, you can only do call time when you have a list. And so a lot of almost everything in fundraising ties back to having some sort of list of people to ask for money. That could be your members, it could be your members plus people you've put onto the list because you've done some research and they're close with your members. It could be organizations. Gibran noted the importance of note taking in call time. So I take copious notes, and when I have, although a team does this for when you may not have a team to do this for you, but like one of the things is like you should know something about the people you're calling. You should know their names. You should know who they work for. You should know. You know, if, you know, little details. So each of my calls, for example, have a bio about the person. So I can at least try and connect with the person on one thing or another. And where it sort of trips me up though, is I'll do call time and they'll call me back and I won't have my like Excel spreadsheet open. Or my call time AI app open, and so like I have to like sort of scramble and be like, what was I asking you for, what organization? So that's a little bit of the awkward part. So it probably helps like if someone calls you back. So what I do now is I let it go to voicemail so that they can tell me who they are and I can call them back. But that's only for like really sophisticated, because I'm dealing with like really like high level people in like organizations, and I don't want to be disrespectful because I don't know who the hell they are. But you definitely want to appear to know who they are when you're calling them and asking them for money, if you can. And I wouldn't really advise for clubs, at least. I don't think it makes much sense to do much cold calling. There may be some prospecting. So cold calling is when you're calling people you don't know. Prospecting is when you call people who you generally know their interests are. Like, so a prospecting call for the Democratic Party would be a high propensity Democrat. And a cold call would be just a random Democrat, right? So I wouldn't advise much cold calling for clubs. Prospecting makes some sense depending on what you're doing. But there are a lot of themes here that we should probably put down together. Like normally I don't do this type of presentation, but if there are questions, I'll take them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can take a look. Like, there's a lot of data online as to like who and what people have donated to previously. I wouldn't recommend, looking for the people that donate $100,000 to the party every year, but if you can see that they've donated to, some smaller amounts to like local candidates, maybe that they've donated to the PACs for some other local clubs, then you can get an idea that they might be someone that is more relevant to you to reach out to. Tiffany put opensecrets.com, and you can also look at data for state and local contributions as well. And Tiffany had a question. She asked, had anyone else run into an issue when trying to sell merch that their club is barred from doing this without a license? You get around this by suggested donations. Tiffany, could you elaborate? Like, I'm just wondering who told you that you couldn't do it. But I think I mentioned a bit earlier with my slides, like when you're not selling, quote unquote selling. You're not saying I'm selling you this. You're asking for a donation and you're giving them a t-shirt. Like it's a little different, but I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on your experience with that.
Thank you for taking the question. So one of the things that I'm trying to do as the president of the San Marcos Dems is elevate our presence in the community. And by doing that, I thought, having t-shirts that we wear at community events would be a great idea. And what I've run into is apparently this has been researched in the past and the club has been stymied over somebody telling another member of the board, you have to have a license in order to sell shirts. And I thought, well, that other clubs do it. So there's got to be a way to get around it. And it sounds like what you suggested, Cody, was the way to do it. It's, oh, we have these shirts. Would you like to make a donation? Oh, and you get the shirt for return. So I don't think this is a rocket science problem that we needed to solve, but it's stymied our club heretofore. So
what are you using to sell or not to sell, to get the shirts out for a donation? What are you using?
So we haven't done anything yet. We haven't even printed the shirts. So we haven't done.
It's more just someone told you that it wasn't like an option, basically.
Yeah, I guess before I got on the board, people had looked into it. And so they have just sort of put it to rest and they couldn't figure out how to get around it. But I thought there's got to be a way, because I know other clubs they have merch. So yeah.
Stephen, I feel like maybe you would have some insight on this, because I know we've done a lot with Young Dems. Yes, don't look at me like that. If not, I can.
Legal advice, but in my opinion, I prefer to ask for forgiveness than permission, right? I think you would have to get a local or state agency that wants to investigate you for selling $15 t-shirts, and is that worth their time? And is someone even going to complain in the first place? So I would say I always go for it, and then if I find out later there's a problem, I deal with the problem. But yeah, I mean, I think just try to frame it in the most accurate way possible, which is you're making a donation to us. In exchange for this donation, you're receiving this whatever, right? A coffee mug, the t-shirt, the whatever's going on. Because it is, at the end of the day, going into an entity that's acting as a political action committee, right? You're not a for-profit entity. You don't need like some tax number for sales licensing or things like that, because of the status that you have as the type of organization that you are. But again, not a lawyer.
Yeah.
I'd like to weigh in on that, if I may. I have a lot of experience managing cities and providing legal advice to cities. And Stephen is right. Most often when people who aren't well informed are talking about license requirements, they're talking about a municipal business license requirement, which is required for commercial operations, but is not required by nearly every city does not require it for nonprofit operations, and certainly not for donations. Sometimes cities have soliciting permit requirements, which is really a police regulation to be sure people soliciting are legitimate and not up to casing houses and such. But that person who asked you, you should ask them, what type of license are you referring to? And if they say business license, just say, well, it's not required for nonprofits, and check with the city you're in, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I was going to thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that, because I was going to say I am unaware, and I've dealt with FPC rules for a long time, and I'm unaware of any prohibition against an organization that is covered under the FPC or the FEC in terms of like whether or not they can or cannot sell. So like what they are talking about is definitely like either a local or a state regulation relevant to like normal selling things. So like a commercial enterprise. None of our organizations are commercial. We're all nonprofit or political. Some of us are political action committees. So that's a great distinction that Wayne brought up. And is largely, and a lot of people who are not well versed on like campaign finance. By the way, anything you sell to a campaign is a contribution. You must report it. So like that, it's a completely different thing. Number one, that's another thing you need to look at. If you are selling a bunch of like shirts and suddenly you cross the finance threshold, you now have to file with the FPPC because it is considered, because you are not a commercial operation, you are receiving contributions. And that means that when you are selling these items, you also have to collect the information that you normally would collect when you are receiving contributions. So that is their name, their employment, or their occupation, their employer, and their address. And another thing about that is even if you do not, because there are loopholes that keep, if you're under 2,000, I think it's 2,000 for the FPPC. If you are under that limit, you don't have to report for the FPPC, meaning you don't have to report your campaign disclosure reports. However, that's cumulative in the year. So if you, for example, have not been collecting that information, and then you suddenly go over the $2,000 limit, then you are required to find all that information and go back and find that information from those individual contributions that you did. You never want to do that. So if you are even going to get close to a legal threshold for political activity, you want to always be collecting the information that you would need to collect for any sort of income to your club. Is there any like questions about that? Because it's really important.
I would just note, well, I actually had Ryan 2 Council of Clubs ago talk about this. So
okay, good.
Yeah, that I was like, we're gonna get this done first. And if anyone wasn't there, all of these are recorded, and it was included. A link to our YouTube was included in the email newsletter that I sent out, and you can find it also just by going to our YouTube page, and the slides are there as well. So if anyone has any questions about that, I would highly suggest you review those first. And I would also note, none of us are lawyers, so none of this is legal advice. Oh, sorry, Tiffany. I meant to unspotlight you and I stopped your video. So you can restart it. I'm just going to remove your spotlight there. And then I was going to say something and I completely forgot just now. Oh yeah, I would just note. So again, just don't use the word sell, please. That's just going to be part of the confusion there. And say you are asking someone for a $20 donation and then you're giving them a shirt. Maybe that shirt costs you like $5 to make or buy from whoever. They're still making a $20 donation. Don't try to complicate it by saying, oh, well, you know, if you subtract $5, it's this. No, they gave you a $20 donation and that's what you're going to report. If you have to report. Wayne, I see your hand up. I don't know if that was from before and you just didn't lower it. Okay, I think so.
I'll take it down.
Andrew has his hand raised.
Yeah, this is just a quick point of clarity. If we do t-shirts like that, I know for campaigns, it's preferred or required, I'm not sure which is which, to use a union print shop, is that also required or preferred here?
It's preferred.
It is definitely preferred, very much preferred. And if you ever want to get a contribution from a labor organization, you will do it.
Okay.
Because they will notice.
And just as, and again, I'm a little bit of a rookie to this. So if we want to do that, is there a list somewhere that, like a list of potential shops to do
The
that?
party has a list of all the local labor print shops.
Okay.
So go to the party staff and they'll give it to you.
Okay, I'll reach out. Thanks, Phil.
I want to it is not a requirement, but it is absolutely preferred to go through a labor print shop, especially if you ever want to get a contribution from a labor union.
Okay.
You can also ensure that the shirts are union created, but there's not really, I don't know if there's a logo for that. That was something that came up recently.
And if it's done in-house, which is, it's, you know, maybe y'all make shirts and sell them or something like that, that's different. Just make sure you tell them. If it's like a business card or something you print, you usually want to put the disclaimer that this was printed in-house, and that frees you of the obligation to print with the labor
That
printer.
is another good point. I'm just gonna quickly find my slide again here. Where is it? Okay. If you're gonna be printing and distributing flyers anywhere or mailing them out, it's not as much of an issue if it's just a digital copy, but if you're gonna be printing and sending flyers anywhere, those should have, you know, the union printed bug, or you should put printed in-house at the bottom so people know that you did that and didn't just go to FedEx. I see Michelle Krug has her hand raised.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate that actually, that if you do anything that's 200 or above, that is not considered acceptable in the labor world. So you are doing any printing, even if you're doing it in-house, there is an expectation that you're going to take it to an actual printer. It's not okay to make 2,000 copies in your office computer and think that it'll be acceptable. That's all I'm going to say on it.
Okay.
I would like to point out that there's no one actually recording. The party does many in-house printers. I think that is the expectation. But at the very least, anything that goes outward, you want to make sure that it has either it's been printed by labor, if it's more than 200, or it has a union bug. So we don't want to like have our put into our minds that if you do 2,000 papers or something, you print 2,000 papers in your office, you're suddenly anti-union. Union leaders are not unreasonable. So just, I'm gonna set that expectation too.
Okay. I'm gonna see if anyone else has any other questions. I'm trying to read the chat, but it's there's a lot of comments. Let's see. Oh. Kevin said, I think there may be font requirements if you print anything with candidates' names on it.
It has nothing to do with candidates.
Yeah,
so
I think that's more for things that come from campaigns. But I will say, please be careful. Like, there are some rules about, and this is more campaign to campaign, but if you have a PAC, I would just make sure as well that you note that someone is, if you have an elected official or candidate, make sure to note that they're a guest speaker or an honor. Okay, we might have lost a little bit then there, but that's okay. Danny has his hand up.
Yeah, so we have a problem with people not RSVPing for different events. Is there a suggestion that you would have for getting people to RSVP for like fundraising events, social gatherings, or even monthly meetings?
Who wants to take that?
Who wants to take that? I mean, it's voluntary. So it's like, so it depends on what you're trying. So it is frustrating, especially when you have to like plan for food or something like that, that if you set an RSVP, that they don't do so. For club meetings, it's like sort of supposed to be open. So it's like difficult to regulate that specifically. But for fundraising events, which is the context of the conversation we're having, it is okay to put a deadline and say, if you don't get it in before this time, then you can't come. And then, that's not a hard or fast rule. Like, I mean, that's the deadline and that's the rule for everyone. But if you have someone that comes late for something reasonable, you can work with them. But for example, like a big event like the Roosevelt Honors or a fundraising event, you may have limited space. And so it's okay to also set the boundary of a deadline for RSVPing. But it is not okay to do that for club meetings, because club meetings have to be open to the public.
Mm-hmm. Stephen, did you have anything? I saw you unmuted.
No, I think that covers it.
Mm-hmm.
How people are, and good luck managing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can do your best to set deadlines, but they may need to be extended. We have vast experience with that with Young Dems.
In fact, the Young Dems typically set an early deadline because we know ourselves, and Young Dems will always do something at the exact last minute of the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
We set that deadline knowing that people are going to be late, and then have an extension deadline. So what you'll see is a lot of organizations, and it'll be sort of like, sorry, there's a lot of background talking. A lot of organizations will set a deadline and be like, oh, you know what? We did so well. We're going to extend the deadline for a couple of days. No, it's just we planned for that. We knew that y'all are going to be late, and now we're giving you a couple extra days to do it, but it sounds good and it makes us sell more tickets.
Yeah, you can also, and again, this is for fundraisers, not like just regular club meetings, but you can also do like early bird levels. So if people get a ticket earlier, then it can be a little cheaper, and then that kind of gives people more of an incentive to get one sooner. I think in the past, I haven't as much when it's been virtual, but I know like in the past COD, I think we have had virtual, regular, and then like late, and like the late ones like day of or like day before are even more expensive than like the non-early bird ones.
Oh yeah, definitely capitalize on their habits. So if you, that's what Cody is describing. If there are a lot of people who, for fundraising events specifically, or for registrations for like conventions or something like that, something where you pay, definitely capitalize on the fact that you set an early deadline. That'll be your early bird deadline, and everything after that is more expensive. So if they're going to be rude and RSVP late, at the very least you get more money out of them. And also that's sort of that's sort of a good thing to do anyways, because it usually costs you more to like change orders and things at the last minute. So it's just a general good practice.
Gibran, I don't know if you wanted to add anything or.
No, I think they covered all the bases.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions? Nope. All right. Well, I think we can kind of wrap it up. I don't know if there was anything else any of you wanted to add on to this.
No, Cody, I wanted to thank you because I have to jump off because I'm at another event. But thank you for doing this in terms of helping our clubs learn how to do more fundraising. We probably should give this, we should get the board's approval to send this video out. And if there are any questions specifically about fundraising, you can reach me at chair@sddemocrats.org. Thank you all. Bye.
Cool. All right, Gibran, do you want to just?
Yeah, so fundraising can suck at times. It's really great at other times. It's incredibly important in any political process to, get as much donations in as possible. It helps your club, campaign, PAC, whatever it is, achieve its goals. And it gets easier the more you do it. Once you get someone in the door and they donate, it's always easier to re-solicit them, and you're going to keep growing your list as time goes. But I just want to, again, mention how incredibly important it is to keep good data, because even if you build relationships with folks, right, as leadership changes, as situations change. If you aren't keeping good data and notes of how conversations went and just things about the people, you're going to lose out on a lot of value that the conversations had. And it's just important to have all of that data and keep it, you know, as intact as possible as you go along the years and the cycles and all that.
Awesome, thank you. Stephen?
No, I mean, I think the pros. I'll leave my email in the chat if anyone ever wants to talk about this kind of stuff. I'm always happy to, you know, bounce around opinions or find other people who also have strong opinions on these things. It's a process, and it can seem daunting at first if you're setting it up from scratch. There's a lot of different things to consider, and I would just say don't ever let it get you down. You're in the good fight. We're all doing this for a reason, and this is an important part of making sure that that your club can accomplish its goals. So just keep.
Awesome, thanks, Stephen. And I just want to also note, because I like dropped off for a minute, if anyone sent me DMs, like there's a high likelihood that I didn't see it. So if you need, you can go ahead and email me after. Is that actually, hold on, wait, is that the right thing? Is it .com or .org? I'm like, yes, it might be .org. It's .org. Let me fix that. There we go. And oh, sorry, is it Maz? I have a question. You're muted. I don't think we can hear you. You can also go ahead and put it in the chat.
Sorry, I switched phones and I forgot that.
Oh,
can you hear me
muted.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Two logistical questions. One is, could you put the link to the YouTube channel that you mentioned that has all the past recordings?
Yeah.
And then the second question.
Do you get the club newsletter, the Council of Clubs newsletter?
It's weird. Like I get some of them, but not others. And I have to investigate into why. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe sometimes it could be that some of them are like marked as spam by your mail thing. So I would check that, because there's only one list. Like I don't ever change anything. So I don't think there's a reason on my end why you wouldn't be getting. So it could be that your like mail server is like marking it as spam. But it's in there. Did you get the one that was sent yesterday or this morning?
I did not get the one from this morning. That's why I thought I heard you say there is a page we can always go to refer back.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm looking for.
Okay. Do you want to, I don't have the link handy yet, but do you want to put your email in the chat, or how about, can you email me? Can you email clubs@sddemocrats.org, just so I remember and I can send that directly to you?
Sure. And one more question. Sorry, it's not about this meeting, but there's a 2 p.m. meeting for the North Coastal Area Caucus meeting. I don't see a Zoom link for that either. So if I don't know where to get that from.
It should be on the party website, sddemocrats.org, and then go to the calendar.
Yeah, I'm looking at the calendar, and the calendar doesn't have a Zoom link.
Unfortunately, not in charge of that, so I'm sorry I don't have that. But you can contact your, are you North Coastal, did you say?
Yes, yes.
I would contact your vice chair.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Contact who?
Your vice chair, Kyle.
Kyle, okay.
Thank you. I think it's just like North. Ron, what's your email? Because isn't it like North Coastal at sddemocrats.org or something like that for him?
Yes, I'm pulling it up and I'll post it in chat.
Okay. Oh yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
it's on the e-board page too. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna do announcements in a minute, folks, if you're asking me about that in the chat. So yeah, there you go. North Coastal VC at sddemocrats.org. Okay. Well, thank you again to our panelists. Really appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday to be here. I'll let you go if I can. There we go. Okay. I think I removed Spotlight. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. I'm going to just bring up my slides again real quick here. Okay. Okay. So just a reminder, and actually I don't think it's on here, so I'll add the YouTube page onto this link tree as well. But if you go to linktr.ee, oops, STEM clubs, we have here our important links for clubs, our Zoom registration link, website, club manual, forms that you need, and all that. So if you ever need anything, it's probably there. And I'll go in and add the YouTube page when I get a chance. And then just a quick reminder again, and this is a great example. We want to make sure that there are Zoom links in the party calendar for your club. So again, like as you can see, as Maz pointed out, there isn't one for North Coastal, which is a problem. There is one for North Inland. So, you know, go to sddemocrats.org, go to the calendar and make sure that you have the right location, especially as a lot of clubs are starting to meet in person now. You want to make sure you have either the correct Zoom link or the correct in-person location. Okay. Back to this. And if it's missing and you haven't already been given edit access, then you'll want to contact calendar@sddemocrats.org and we can get that updated. Gibran, your hand is raised?
Yeah. Oh, I heard myself twice. For some of the area caucuses, and I know some of the clubs are doing it, you can have your link be static, which means you don't have a changing link for your Zoom meeting. So I believe all of the area caucuses now have static links for all of our meetings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's and I would just, where is this? Here we go. So again, we're nearing probably time where people are changing to in-person meetings, but I would just note it's really a lot easier for folks if you use the same link, either the same registration link if you require registration, or just the same link if you don't require registration. A lot of times with the default people do, if they're not trying to set it recurring, is they have like a new link every month, and that just makes it a lot more complicated. So it's easier if you do what Gibran said and have a static link. Just like for this, I have set up so it's the same registration link for every Council of Clubs monthly meeting. So okay, any other questions about this before we do announcements? Michelle?
Yeah,
I would say, just so you know, I went over everything at the beginning of the meeting for the CDP.
Okay, but I don't know that you have the information that I have.
Okay.
So, and I apologize for not being on at the beginning, just for others that know. I know Cody knows that we've been having an issue with hate rallies that are going on in Orange County / Riverside. And so Cody actually gave me the information that the Riverside one was finally canceled 10 o'clock last night. Apparently, they capitulated to us calling and canceled it, but it got moved to Anaheim. But then Anaheim got canceled just when the council clubs meeting was starting. So at this moment, we're just waiting to see where they try to reschedule it. It's what is his name? Matt Gates and Marjorie Taylor Greene are doing an America First tour. And so that's what's happening in Southern California for this weekend. To just keep on the lookout, because so far our pressure has been working, that they have been canceling it when the convention centers get our messages, and that we've been ordering tickets from them. So for the California Democratic Party, the two critical deadlines for clubs are going to be that any members that you have by July 27th can be included. I don't know if you had that date. July 27th is the last day that new members can be counted. And of course, you need to check that they are actually a Democrat. If they're not able to register to vote, like they're too young or they're not a citizen, they just have to sign the portion that says that they intend to register as a Democrat when they are in the ability, when they have the legal ability to do that. But other than that, July 27th, and then the next deadline is August 11th. August 11th is when every club president must have their list of all of their members in the proper template, which has not been released yet, which is supposed to be released this coming week, but they've been saying that for 2 months now. But they have to have all the information of every club member, which also includes their birthdays. And that's what I was told. So I won't know for sure until we see the template, but I'm just letting you know that you're going to have to be ready with that information quickly. So you'll have until August 11th for that to be received by your regional directors, for it to be considered in creating the list of club representatives. And then I'm sure that what Cody did go over was that you must have this section of the California Democratic Party bylaws in your own bylaws to be eligible for your members to be able to be represented. So basically, it's a change in our bylaws that used to give a specific date. It used to be July 1st. That things had to be handed into the regional directors, and now it's based on a period of time. It's 315 days to 325 days from whenever the primary is set, that the club presidents must have that information into your regional directors. And I believe it was 300 to 310 days is the last day that you can accept new members before the upcoming primary, which is June 7th, even though they kept telling us it might change. Those are probably,
Michelle, you're cutting out.
if somebody wants to put my phone number in the chat, you know, as I get upcoming information, of course, I'll make sure Cody will get it, because she's also a delegate in Region 20, but I will also make sure that she has it and that she's able to send it out to all of you guys. But again, feel free to call me with questions because this seems to be a moving target. That's, I think if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer it. And otherwise, thanks for putting it in at the end.
Thanks for reiterating that. And you said they did finalize the August 11th deadline, because before it said 1 through 11, like to be determined.
Unique told that
You're cutting out.
it's August 11th.
Okay, you said Unique told you.
I'm sorry. Told me last night that the date will be August 11th, and that should be out in an email, which I'm happy for you to double check on Monday.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions before we move on to club announcements? Okay, I'm gonna move on. So if you have an announcement, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll give people a couple minutes. Just let me get my timer up here.
Ooh.
Okay, so let's see. First, I see Danny, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Hey guys, nice to see everyone, even if it's still on Zoom. Can't wait to see you guys in person. But I wanted to take a quick moment to ask for your help. So it's speaking of fundraising, we are holding our first fundraiser on Monday. And unfortunately, I didn't do it the way it should be done. This presentation has shown me a lot, and so that's why I'm going to need your help. You know, just from the other club presidents, the other clubs, we'd love to hear different how you guys do things. And if you guys can join us at our next fundraiser, we're going to be doing a wine auction. If you guys love wine, I'm a big wino. And we're going to be doing some small appetizers, live music with the Bobby Sanchez combo. So if you guys want more information, I'll put the links in the chat. We do need your help. We need some attendance just because a lot of the promotion wasn't there in advance. So this has definitely showed me a lot. We would love your help. I know a lot of people are going to be running campaigns soon and they're going to need a lot of help, and I love to help everyone, but this is the time that I want to call in my favors because I definitely need your help with this one. So give me a call. I'll put all my information down in the chat. Definitely need your help. Want to talk to other club presidents about different things going on. So if you're interested, please give me a call. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And then I
see.
Oh,
and happy Pride.
Thank you. And then I see Nadia.
Hi, everyone. Happy Pride. I'm Nadia Kinayub. I'm the president of East Lake Benia Dem. She, her, hers. I have a few things. I'm going to try to run through them as quickly as possible. I do want to remind everybody that South Bay Pride is August 21st. So if you'd like to table, we do have a few locations left. So go ahead and reach out to me directly. I did want to share something that came from Councilmember Paloma Aguirre in Imperial Beach. She is gathering resources for Covina AC, which is a shelter and community center that serves vulnerable people in Mexicali, Baja California, including unsheltered children, teens, migrants, seniors, and members of the LGBT community. They're one of the only shelters that does that, and last week it burned to the ground. They're requesting, on top of monetary donations, canned foods, toilet paper, bottled water, diapers 1 through 6, baby formula, personal hygiene articles, shoes, clothes, 100 chairs, 10 folding tables, linens or sleeping bags, and mats or inflatable beds. If you're able to give, please go ahead and contact me. I'll leave all my information in the chat and I will come pick it up from you. So you don't even have to leave your house. You just have to throw it out the door and I'll grab it. On top of that, if anybody is available to volunteer again at the MAC project, it's the second Thursday of every month. It's down in Chula Vista. They serve over 420 families. All you have to do is show up at 7:30 a.m. They'll direct you where to go. You hand out food, and it's a wonderful way to get involved and be seen in the community and prove that we actually care. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
All right, thank you. And then let's see next, let me lower people's hands. Next I see Tommy.
Thanks, Cody. I appreciate it. Good morning. It's great to see everyone, and happy Pride. San Diego County Planning Commissioner Tommy Howe, running for San Diego City Council, excuse me, in District 6. I just had a big cup of coffee. Anyways, a lot of good information today regarding fundraising, and it was interesting because it was 7 years ago this week, actually, that we went to the Council of Clubs to first talk about San Diego County Democrats for Environmental Action. And of course, I've been involved with many of you over the last 7 years with that club and through the Council of Clubs and through the Central Committee. But, you know, the reason I'm running for office isn't necessarily because of my environmental advocacy. That's a big part of it. But really, the concern is that my neighbors simply, even going, not even past Chris Cape, but going back to Lori Zaff, really haven't had anyone advocating for our communities beyond the economic centers that we have at MCAS Miramar, Sereno Valley, and also the Convoy area. We have 140,000 San Diego neighbors here in this area, the heart of San Diego, who power these economic engines. And yet we don't have roads that are rebuilt. We have roads that have been falling apart for the last 50 years. Gold Coast Drive has been in terrible shape for the last 2 decades. This is unacceptable in what is largely the economic center of the city, certainly north of Interstate 8. And unfortunately, in many ways, we're viewed as the community that isn't necessarily with La Jolla or Scripps Ranch or Del Cerro. So we are really the middle-class community north of I-8, and I'm looking to represent this community with our slogan, Neighborhoods First. I want to speak with you more about our campaign for San Diego City Council District 6. I know I've reached out to some of you today. Some of you have already been very supportive of our campaign. I appreciate that, but I look forward to speaking with you more about the issues that are pertinent to this district and the rest of the city. My name is Tommy Howe. I'm running for San Diego City Council District 6. I'd like to earn your support. Thanks for your time and happy Pride. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. And then next I see Kent. If you turn on your video, I can spotlight you. Or I can just not spotlight. There we go. Oh, you.
Sorry, it seems like we keep muting and unmuting back and forth. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I've got my 1-year-old right below me at the moment. Just wanted to take a moment to, again, reintroduce myself. My name is Kent Lee. I'll keep it quick. I'm a Democrat running for San Diego City Council in District 6 to build a stronger, more compassionate, more inclusive San Diego. And maybe I'll pause. I'll let Michelle go first, perhaps, and I can try to start back up this. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, Michelle. Michelle, you need to unmute.
Thank you. I love that button, and I love that you sent it to me. I was trying to unmute. Thank you. So this had nothing to do with my regional director hat. So this is a Pride event. For the very first time in Spring Valley, the San Diego Pride is holding a family gathering tomorrow, Sunday, from 9:30 till 2. There will be the drag queen storytellers. There'll be a dance group. There'll be clowns and face painting all day. It's really a kickback situation. I know they have about 300 RSVPs. There will also be COVID rapid testing and a COVID vaccination clinic, which we actually had to put a lot of energy into getting to happen. So I do hope that people talk to people who might still need to be vaccinated. That will be available on a walk-up basis. So tomorrow, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you where it is. It's at the San Diego Youth Services East County facility, which is at, can someone put this in the chat, please? It's 3845 Spring Drive, Spring Valley. And I'm pretty sure the zip code is 91977. Again, San Diego
Can you
Youth
repeat that, Michelle? 3845.
Spring Drive in Spring Valley. And the zip code, I'm pretty sure, is 91977. It's the technical name of the facility is San Diego Youth Services, and it's their East County facility. So tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. till 2. Check it out. San Diego Pride. And again, like others have said, happy Pride.
Thank you. And then I'm going to go back to Kent.
Thanks, Cody. Sorry about that, everyone, but good morning again, and thanks. That's what I get for running for office with 2 young kids. Morning again, my name is Kent Lee. I'm a Democrat running for San Diego City Council in District 6 to build a stronger, more compassionate, more inclusive San Diego. I'm a first-generation Asian American. I've lived in the Mira Mesa area for 15 years. As you can tell, I've got 2 young kids. And I'm running largely because I believe that advancing social and racial equity throughout our region is something that we have the opportunity to do throughout our city. Ensuring housing affordability at every income level, supporting the recovery of our small businesses. Just to provide some updates, some of you have probably heard me in other meetings, but last month I was proud to announce the endorsement of Vice Chair Nora Vargas of our County Board of Supervisors. We also shared some really big news last week, which was that we raised a historic $107,000 in the first fundraising period ending June 30th, surpassing not just all of our opponents, but nearly all first-time Democratic candidates in history. And the effort is really thanks to tremendous grassroots support. 80% of our contributions have come from right here in San Diego. More than a third of these individuals are first-time contributors. And what I think it shows is that we have the ability to reach new donors, new voters, and to really bring more people to the party. We also ended the first period with over $100,000 of cash on hand. And especially as a first-time candidate that's coming from the community, we're just really proud of the depth of grassroots support and the momentum that it's showing in terms of our viability to win the race and to flip the seat. So again, my name is Kent Lee. I'm running for San Diego City Council in District 6. I'll put some info in the chat, and thanks everyone.
All right, thank you. I don't think I see anyone else's hand raised. I'm going to give one more ask there if anyone has any other announcement. Okay, I don't think so. So that concludes our meeting today. Thank you everyone for being here. I hope that you found this presentation valuable, and it will be put up as soon as I can. It takes a while for Zoom to compile and for YouTube to upload. So I'll get those out in the newsletter as well. So thank you. Have a good rest of your Saturday.
Thanks, Cody.